Wanted to introduce Richard Kyle to everybody who's watching. We're lucky enough to have Richard and the team from Blue Yonder in our office at Strikeforce today. It's a real pleasure to have the guys here. I'm Michael Oakley, I'm the head of Category and Insights at Strikeforce, and I look after our partnership with Blue Yonder. We've been partnering with Blue Yonder for about 7 years now, and it's been a fantastic journey, learn a lot. It's been great to be on the front lines of understanding where this stuff is going, particularly around category management, and being able to work with lots of big retailers in Australia and New Zealand and understand, a little bit about the journey of Blue Yonder and where they've come from and where they're going to. It's definitely an asset for Strikeforce. So welcome, Richard.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's great to be here.
I guess one of the things we wanted to talk about today, what are some of the big changes that Blue Yonder have gone through recently? There's obviously been name changes, there's been ownership changes, there's been all sorts of things, yes. But what are some of the big ones that stand out for you?
Yeah, so it's obviously the name change that was important, but didn't desperately affect category management. But I think the recent things that have happened, our first truly SaaS tools are out. So Store Insights, so the new clustering tool, it is, in my opinion, a much better tool. It's certainly a lot more user-friendly. It has some improvements in the algorithms and things like that. But I think apart from being a nicer tool to use, it goes that extra step to say, what do my clusters mean? Yeah. And that's really important for the next step, the assortment selection process. Which brings us nicely onto the other new tool, which is strategic assortment. Again, we've learned a lot from the various tools that we've had over the years. Yeah. That is a much, much nicer tool to use. And it shares data much better and gives the users a much better experience. We've tried to hide as much of the complexity from the end user. It's still there, you can still configure it, but you haven't got the complexity that some of our previous tools were accused of. And then I guess the last one is our very latest tool, which is Strategic Space. It is the first brand new tool from category management for a long time, so it's not replacing any existing tool. And it's looking really good. So it allows you to optimize your store, so not just find the ideal amount of space, but to place that into a real floor plan and make the compromises that are necessary. So, and automates the updating of your floor plans. So it's optimization, automation. That is, so many people are asking for that. So hopefully that tool's ticking all the boxes.
Well, it's definitely a thing in this market. I think a lot of users of space planning tend to spend a lot of resource in space planning itself. And that floor planning component is something that's not as thoroughly delved into, and certainly the link between the two often isn't as good as it should be. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in this market for retailers to benefit from that holistic view.
Yes, and we've talked to a lot of retailers, and they're telling us that they know there's more macro space updates that are needed. They just don't have capacity. So hopefully this tool will bring that, ease that situation, because much, much more of the process is automated. So.
And I guess that's, again, part of our the benefit of our relationship being a business that predominantly it's an arms and legs business. We're out in stores, about 2,000 people across the country doing work in the big retailers, the smaller retailers, independents, implementing those changes. Yes. I think there's certainly some opportunity to communicate better with those end users at the end of the day, because what we find is that in a lot of cases it's the same planogram you're implementing across a bunch of stores, even though the demographics are completely different.
Yes.
And the opportunity is lost there to actually fine-tune that range. So
that's right, and it's really, what does store specific mean? Does it mean it's the same assortment as a similar store in the same cluster but the same size, but we just changing the facings a little bit, or is it much more of a store-specific assortment in itself? And there's all sorts of variations on that, and there isn't a right answer for everyone. It is your business, what are you doing with it? And even from category to category, that might be a little bit of a different answer, and we need to support those different scenarios.
Yeah. So I guess moving forward, looking into the crystal ball into the future, what do you think some of the big opportunities are for the retailers that you've spoken to recently?
Well, I think we always hear optimization, we always hear automation, and we always hear AI and machine learning. Yep. All of those things are coming, and we have to bring that. But I think with the move to, certainly from a Blue Yonder perspective, to the data cloud, the platform data cloud, that is going to give us far more opportunities than we've imagined. We can all identify the main use cases that, this application needs access to that application's data. There's all that. We've been doing that for a long time. But I think having it all in one place, it's going to open a lot of other doors, and we don't even know the doors are there yet, because suddenly this data is just available, and all those little nuggets of we should be able to do that, but it's not worth implementing an integration and all that, that's gone. You have access to all that data. And I really think that's going to bring a lot of power, and those important little advantages that a particular retailer can take, which obviously can translate into a lot of money. So it's going to be more important. So what are you seeing? Things like that? Or?
Well, I guess from our point of view, the challenges that we see a lot of our clients face is their data management capability. Suddenly data is everywhere and there's tons of it, and it's growing exponentially all the time. And the ability to, I guess, harness the insights that you should be able to get out of there, often it's a costly exercise. So trying to set up the infrastructure around being able to manage your data properly is probably the biggest challenge we see out in this market. And then being able to place your hand on the right information at the right time to make a decision with it. That's probably the key things that I see as big opportunities in this market.
Yes, and I think even, it doesn't sound very complicated, but people want to use forecast data, and that's the big thing, use forecast data. But it's never as simple as that. Yes, we want to use forecast, but if I'm doing a planogram today or an assortment today, and that's going to hit stores in 10 weeks, there's no point in forecasting the next 3 weeks for me. I want a forecast that starts in 10 weeks and goes on for 3 months, or however long I think the planograms are likely to be in the store. So it's making sure that the data is not just tick the box, it's forecast, it's future. Make sure it's relevant for whatever we're using that data for. And that's a very important thing. We can't just say tick the box, yes, we've done some data. We need to make sure it's right and relevant and helping and doing a better job for us than we have today.
I guess the other one that I sort of a question with that notice for you, but interested in your opinions on image recognition, and if you think that's a significant opportunity in category management, or is it a bit more of a pipe dream?
No, I think it's very important. I think it's going to be something that we work with partners to deliver, but many people want this situation. They want to, as you implement a new version of the planogram, they want to confirm that the store has implemented it correctly. They want to identify if there's any issues that need to be addressed. They want to keep monitoring those planograms, so we keep on top of the situation to say, is something not as it should be, but if it's not quite right, how bad is it? So if I've got a product out of stock, and that product is somewhere in the store, we want it fixed right now. We need to get somebody in the store, go and find it, put it on the shelf so our customers can buy it. But if it's a less important change, perhaps the product's in the wrong order, it still needs to be corrected because that's how we're measuring things, but that's not a desperately urgent situation. So I think there's a long way to go with that. But also, as you're implementing a new planogram, if we can say this is the most efficient way to get from where you are today to where you need to be, working from where we think you are, i.e. the existing version of the planogram, is probably not right. We need to work from where you really are, warts and all. This is what your store looks like.
Current
we
conditions,
need to look like this. So there is a lot of opportunities for that. And there's a lot of technology that has recently become available, which makes image recognition more of a doable thing. So there's a few partners we're talking to, and there's some really exciting stuff coming, I think.
Well, don't forget about us, because I might have mentioned it, but we've got about 2,000 merchandisers all over Australia doing bits and pieces, and New Zealand. And the bottom line is, I can see in a future where an alert happens in a store because of an out of stock. Something is triggered through the system that then alerts a roving team member who isn't necessarily a employee of the retailer, but a third party who can hit to a store and make a change and impact that lost sale. So being able to sort of tie those things together, I think, is a really important aspect of it.
And I think that's, once the image recognition, it feels like we are on the cusp of that being properly cracked. So it can be done at scale and at speed and all of those things, but then it's like when we know who fixes it. So
it's great to raise the alert, but if you've got no one to fix it,
if the product is out of stock by 11 o'clock every Wednesday, it's the planogram perhaps that should have more. If it's something else, this product is in the shop but not on the shelf, somebody in the store needs to know. It's going to be, how do we manage the person that gets the alert in order to react to whatever the situation is. That I think will be a challenge, but it doesn't sound like a challenge that can't be solved.
No, I think there's definitely solutions out there. But there's going to be a lot of trial and error, a lot of testing and working out the best ways to do it, because it's all about being able to interact with that out of stock quickly to get the value of making the change.
And it's it's where the planograms come into it as well, because if there's a gap on your shelf, image recognition can tell you there's a gap. It can't tell you what should be there unless it can refer back to something to say that should be product A in that location. So, as I say, there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. I mean, I guess another use case is a lot of suppliers want to go in, take a picture, and have that converted into a planogram that they can edit and interact with in the normal way. So I think there's a lot of use cases around that can be supported much more easily than they have in the past.
Yeah, makes sense. So I guess just in closing, is there anything that you're particularly proud of the achievements the last little while? You've obviously been in category management at Blue Yonder for a long time.
So frightened to remember how long I've been in category management, but yes, no, I think the newer stuff I'm particularly proud of. I mean, Strategic Space is the newest tool, and I'm very proud of that product. I think it's got a lot of potential. We are talking to customers and we're getting a lot of feedback, and they are requesting new features, sensible features, some of which you're going to see in the release that's out in January, some of them a little bit further down the line. But I think that model of how we evolve that product from a twinkle in someone's eye basically to a product that's available to demo and then eventually to sell, the way we did that is the way we're going to look at the other tools. So cognitive space planning is the next thing that I think is very exciting. It's a very well-established tool. People love the tool today. It's going to be a journey, and sometimes people will get a bit nervous. We need to take those people with us. The reason we're here is because we have happy customers. We don't want to lose that. We're not taking away the existing tool, but I think the way we talked with customers, got their feedback and said, right now, next time we've improved this, is this good? And that's a very good model. And we're going to be using that for cognitive space planning, and the work has already started, and will progress through next year.
Yeah, from my perspective, that's probably the most exciting change I've seen in my time in this area. It's going to be an interesting ride.
I think it's I say it is a little bit frightening, but it is very exciting as well. That we need to reimagine the way you do space planning. Everyone is asking for more automation. They want AI. They want it simple. They want it quick. They want it available on much more than sitting at a desk with a PC. And that is going to give us those options. So I think it's going to be a journey. The things that you see first are going to be some of the innovations. So, but space planning, as we know it today, is going to be around for a while yet. That's not dropping off a cliff.
No, it makes sense. All right, well, thanks for taking the time to come and meet with us today. Really appreciate it. It's great
thank you for your hospitality. It is appreciated, and it's been great to talk to you guys. So thank you very much.